The sharp sting of betrayal hit me harder than any physical pain when I realized my family was on vacation in Bali while I fought for my life. I still remember the cold, mechanical beep of the heart monitor as it flatlined. For 11 seconds, everything went silent, and I thought I was gone. But then I woke up. I wasn't sure where I was at first, just that my chest ached and my head felt like it was filled with cotton. The ICU lights flickered above me, and there was a strange emptiness in the air. And then I saw him, Nurse Carlos, standing by my bedside, eyes wide with disbelief. He wasn't expecting me to wake up, and I could see it in his face. It wasn't the relief I was hoping for, but panic. His voice was shaky when he asked, "Do you want to call your family?" I didn't need to ask. I could feel it in my gut. Something was off. When I finally regained full consciousness, I looked around the room and saw a note lying on my pillow. It was from my family. The words were simple, but they hit me hard. "We hope you're feeling better when we get back from Bali." Bali. They were in Bali. They had left me here fighting for my life while they took off on vacation. The sharp sting of betrayal hit me harder than any pain I felt in the ICU. I spent the next few days in silence, trying to piece together what had just happened. I healed, yes, but not because they were there to comfort me. I did it on my own, in that sterile room, without any visits, no flowers, no calls. The emptiness of it all made me realize how alone I really was. And that was the moment I decided I had to take control of my life. So when I finally walked out of that hospital, it wasn't just my body that was healing. I made a choice. I sold my house, drained my accounts, and vanished. No word, no goodbye. I didn't look back. They were on their own. And for the first time in a long time, I felt free. I remember the flatlining sound like it was just yesterday, the cold clinical beep that lasted longer than I ever expected it to. 11 seconds, that's how long I was gone. But then everything shifted. A sudden pain jolted me awake, and I found myself staring at the sterile white ceiling of the ICU. I tried to breathe, but the air felt thick, like my lungs were struggling to catch up. I could feel the sharp sting in my chest where the shock had hit me, and my head was heavy with the weight of confusion. It was as if my body was trying to remember how to exist again. I blinked, and the first thing I saw was Nurse Emma. Her name tag was the only thing that felt real in that moment, the only thing I could focus on. She was standing by my bedside, her hands trembling slightly as she adjusted the IV. But it wasn't just the IV that caught my attention, it was her face. A mix of surprise and disbelief. She was clearly taken aback. I could see the question in her eyes. I could feel her uncertainty, like she didn't think I was going to wake up at all. There was a subtle panic in her gaze that I didn't miss. I tried to speak to ask where my family was, but my voice cracked, and all that came out was a hoarse whisper. It wasn't the words I wanted, but it was enough to get her to respond. "Just rest, Mrs. Whitaker," she said softly, almost too softly. Her voice was shaky, and she didn't meet my eyes when she said it. She was avoiding something, but what? And then it hit me. Where were they? Where was my family? I tried to force my body to sit up to call for someone, but I couldn't. My body didn't have the strength yet, so I lay there staring at the fluorescent lights buzzing above, feeling a strange sense of emptiness creeping in. I wasn't sure if I was still dreaming, but I knew something wasn't right. That night, I overheard Nurse Emma talking on the phone. Her voice, low and hushed, drifted over to me as I lay there unable to move or speak. She didn't know I was awake, but I could hear every word clearly. "Yes, ma'am." "She's stabilized," Emma said, a slight pause before she continued. "Yeah, no, she's conscious now." "Would you like to speak to her?" Another pause. "Okay, got it. Just thought you'd want to know." I could feel my chest tighten, but I couldn't move. I didn't need to ask who was on the other end of the line. It was my daughter. But there was something about her words that sent a cold shiver down my spine. The way Emma spoke so detached like this was all routine. I realized then that my family hadn't come. They hadn't been there. Not when I needed them most. The next few days were a blur. I tried to reach out to my daughter Daniel, anyone, but nothing. No visitors, no flowers, no calls. I was left alone in that sterile room, just me and the beeping of the machines that kept me alive. I waited, hoping for some kind of sign, some sign that they cared enough to show up, but nothing came. For 8 long days in that ICU, I existed in a state of suspended animation, neither fully awake nor truly asleep. I was just there. I was healing, yes, but it wasn't just my body that was wounded. It was my spirit. The isolation was suffocating. My family was absent when I needed them the most, and the realization cut deeper than any physical pain I felt. And as the days dragged on, I began to wonder, did they even care? Was I really just a burden to them? I didn't have the answers then, and I still don't. But the emptiness of those days, the silence that followed, spoke volumes louder than any words could ever say. When I finally left that sterile hospital room, there was a part of me that wanted to believe things would be different. Maybe my family would be there to help me, to show that they cared, to prove that the months of silence in the ICU were just some sort of misunderstanding. Maybe they'd apologize, maybe we'd have a heartfelt reunion. But deep down, I already knew the truth. I had been alone in that hospital for too long, and nothing was going to change when I returned home. The ride from the hospital was quiet, almost too quiet. The van drove through familiar streets, but nothing felt familiar anymore. It was as if everything around me had been stripped of meaning. When we finally reached my house, I could barely bring myself to look at it. I had built this home from the ground up, poured my love and memories into it for years. But the closer we got, the heavier my heart became. The door opened, but it wasn't my daughter Sophie or my son Daniel standing there. It was Michael, my son-in-law. He didn't even seem surprised to see me back early. His face was all smiles, but they felt hollow. "Hey, Laura. Welcome home," he said, holding a Starbucks cup like it was just another day. He didn't seem to notice how strange it was that I wasn't greeted by my own flesh and blood. Sophie and Daniel weren't here. Not even a hug. No warmth. Just Michael standing in the doorway with a cup of coffee in hand. I felt like a stranger in my own home. I shuffled inside, my legs unsteady, and immediately I noticed that the house was a mess. Not a messy kind of lived-in chaos, but a disarray that screamed someone else was here. The furniture was rearranged, the couches pushed into strange angles, and the walls half-painted. It wasn't the warm, welcoming home I had spent so many years in. No, it was as if someone was preparing to sell it. My stomach twisted as I walked through the house, each room more unsettling than the last. And then in the kitchen I saw it, a real estate flyer for my house, sitting casually on the dining table. It wasn't just any flyer, it was a flyer for a sale. My house up for grabs, charming southern home ideal for young families. My hands shook as I picked up the flyer, unable to fully process what I was reading. This wasn't just about a sale. This was about erasing everything. They were preparing to sell my life. I moved into the living room, my mind spinning, and that's when I found it. A folder on the counter, a file with papers sticking out, papers that made my blood run cold, power of attorney documents. I couldn't breathe as I looked at the papers, realizing with a sickening jolt that my signature was there. It was dated 2 years ago when I had a minor surgery. Sophie had rushed me to sign it, saying it was just a precaution. I had trusted her. I was vulnerable under the haze of anesthesia, but I trusted her. Now here I was staring at those same papers, only to realize that they had used my own signature to clear me out, to take control of my life, my home, my everything. I couldn't hold back the wave of emotion that hit me. I was trembling, standing in the middle of my living room, surrounded by boxes as if I didn't even exist. This was supposed to be my sanctuary, but instead it felt like a tomb for memories I no longer had any say in. And just as I stood there numb and helpless, my phone buzzed. A text from Sophie. "The house goes on MLS Monday. If she's not home yet, we'll start the assisted living intake. Let's be honest, Mom was never good at boundaries. The words hit me like a slap. Sophie, my own daughter, the one I had raised, the one I had cared for. She had planned to put me in an assisted living facility without even telling me, without asking for my opinion, without any thought for what I might want. They weren't just clearing out my house, they were clearing me out of their lives. I wasn't just a burden, I was an inconvenience. Tears stung my eyes, but I didn't let them fall. No, this was it. This was the moment I realized how little I mattered to them. They had already decided what to do with my life, as if I were a piece of furniture to be sold off or discarded, but I wasn't ready to go down without a fight. I stood there in the middle of my home, realizing that the family I had sacrificed everything for no longer saw me as family. They saw me as something to be discarded. And that was the moment I knew I couldn't let them win. I had to take back control. My life wasn't theirs to decide anymore. I stood frozen in the middle of my living room, the weight of the reality crashing down on me like a ton of bricks. The house I had built, the memories I had created, the life I had worked so hard to make it, was all slipping through my fingers, and not a single person in my family seemed to care. It wasn't just the furniture being moved or the house being sold, it was something much deeper, something far more sinister. I had been blind to it for so long, but now in the quiet of that empty room, the truth was staring me in the face. My family, my own flesh and blood, had no intention of helping me recover. They weren't here to care for me or ensure I got better. They had been preparing for my absence long before I ever flatlined in that hospital bed. They were preparing to erase me. The realization hit me like a shockwave. All the time I had spent caring for them, all the sacrifices I had made, and yet here I was, abandoned and betrayed. It wasn't love or concern that had motivated them. It was convenience. It was easier for them to move on with their lives if I wasn't around, if I wasn't here taking up space, demanding care. They didn't want a mother or a grandmother, they wanted someone out of the way. I moved mechanically through the house, my mind spinning as I thought back to that day when Sophie had pushed me to sign the power of attorney document. It had been during my hip surgery. I had been groggy, disoriented from the anesthesia, but Sophie had rushed me, telling me it was just a precaution. "Don't worry, Mom," she had said. "It's for insurance purposes." She assured me it was a simple formality. I trusted her. I was vulnerable, and I believed that she was doing what was best for me. But now, standing in the wreckage of my own life, I realized the truth. The power of attorney I had signed wasn't just for insurance. It wasn't a precaution at all. It was the key they had used to unlock control over everything I owned. The papers I had found earlier weren't just some documents for a simple transfer of responsibility. They had been used to transfer ownership of my house without my consent. My signature, my once trusted signature, had been exploited while I was medicated and unable to understand what I was signing. They had taken advantage of me when I was at my weakest, and now they were using it as a weapon to clear me out of my own home. I could feel my hands trembling as I picked up the documents again, trying to make sense of it all. The sense of betrayal was suffocating. They had orchestrated this entire plan while I was lying in a hospital bed, unable to defend myself. They had already decided my fate. It wasn't just about selling the house. It was about erasing me from their lives as if I never mattered. I felt a coldness wash over me, and I realized that the anger I had felt earlier wasn't enough. Anger alone wouldn't fix this. I needed to take back what was mine. I wasn't going to let them control me anymore. I wasn't going to let them strip me of everything I had worked for. This was my life, and I was going to fight for it. I wasn't going to be a pawn in their game anymore. No more passive waiting for something to change. It was time to take action. My family had crossed the line, and now it was my turn to reclaim what was rightfully mine. The betrayal I felt was overwhelming, but I knew that if I was going to take back my life, I had to act quickly. The thought of sitting idly by while my family dismantled everything I had worked for made my blood boil. I needed to fight back. and I had one ally left, my lawyer, Olivia Green. Olivia had been a trusted family lawyer for years, and though we hadn't spoken much recently, I knew she would be my best chance at reclaiming control. I dialed her number with trembling fingers, the weight of what had happened pressing down on me. When she answered, her voice was familiar and comforting, but there was no time for pleasantries. "Olivia, I need your help." I said, my voice steady, despite the storm brewing inside me. I explained everything: the power of attorney, the house, the real estate flyer, and the betrayal by Sophie and Daniel. I could hear the shock in her voice as she processed the information. "You're saying they used your signature to transfer ownership of the house while you were incapacitated?" she asked. I could sense her professional demeanor shifting to something more urgent. "Yes," I replied. "They've taken control, and I need to stop them before it's too late. I want to reclaim my home." There was a brief silence before Olivia spoke again, this time with confidence. "Laura, that power of attorney is invalid for real estate transfers without your explicit consent. If they acted on it without that, we have grounds to revoke it and take back control of the property. I'll get to work on this immediately." I felt a surge of relief. There was a way out. I wasn't powerless. Olivia had a reputation for handling delicate cases like this, and I trusted that she would do everything in her power to make things right. The next few days were a whirlwind. Olivia filed the necessary legal paperwork to revoke the power of attorney and restore my autonomy. She moved fast, and within a week I had regained full control of the house. The property once taken from me was now officially under my name again. But that wasn't enough. I wasn't just going to stand by and let them think they could walk all over me. I had spent years building this life, and I wasn't going to let them erase it so easily. I needed to take the next step. The first thing I did was change the locks. I had the security company come in and install new ones, making sure no one could get inside without my permission. I could almost hear the echoes of the past in my mind, the moments when I felt powerless and neglected. No more. I wasn't going to let anyone else dictate my future. With the house back in my control, I began preparing it to sell, but not under anyone's terms, but mine. This wasn't about just getting rid of my belongings. It was about reclaiming my space, my memories, my life. I wasn't doing it for Sophie or for Daniel. I was doing it for me. As I walked through the rooms of the house, I began sorting through the things that mattered. The wedding photos, the heirlooms from my grandmother, the little trinkets that told the story of my life, those were the things I would keep. The rest, the things that didn't hold any emotional value, would go. It felt strange, but it also felt liberating. I was letting go of the things that no longer served me physically and emotionally. I wasn't sure what my next steps would be, but I knew one thing for sure: I was taking control. This house, this life was mine, and I wasn't going to let anyone take it away again. With the house under my control and my power of attorney revoked, it was time to take the next step. I had made my decision, and there was no turning back. I wasn't going to stay in Charleston surrounded by the remnants of a family that had betrayed me. I needed to disappear to escape the life that had been thrust upon me. I needed to start fresh. The first thing I did was sell everything. I liquidated the furniture, the antiques, the artwork. Anything that held value was gone. I didn't care about the material things. All that mattered were the personal items, the things that held the memories. I wanted to keep a few precious family photos, a box of handwritten letters, my late husband's watch, and a few mementos from my children when they were younger. Those were the things I couldn't part with. The rest, it was just stuff. And stuff was easily replaced. Once the house was emptied and the sale was final, I made my next move. I opened a new bank account under a different name, Diana Wells. It was strange, almost surreal to hear my new name spoken aloud, but it felt like the first step in shedding the old me. Laura Whitaker had been the name of a woman who had given everything to her family, a woman who had been betrayed and forgotten. Diana Wells was someone different, someone free, someone with a chance to build a new life. I had no intention of telling anyone where I was going. No goodbyes, no explanations. I just packed up my car, drove away, and never looked back. I found Seabrook by accident on a whim, actually. It wasn't on any map I had planned to follow, but as I drove along the coast, I saw a sign for the town and decided to stop. There was something about it that felt right. A small coastal town, quiet with the scent of salt water in the air and the sound of waves crashing against the shore. It was the perfect place for someone who wanted to disappear, but also start over. I rented a modest cottage just off the beach and settled in. The town was small, welcoming in its own way, and I quickly found my place there. I volunteered at the local art gallery, helping with exhibits, organizing events, and getting to know the people in town. No one asked questions about my past. No one knew who I really was. I was Diana Wells, a new woman with no baggage, no history. I found peace in the quiet rhythm of my new life, working with my hands, helping others, and letting go of the pain that had once defined me. Over time, I began to form connections with the people around me. Claire, a kind-hearted woman in her 40s who ran a small cafe near the gallery, became one of my closest friends. She had a warmth that was contagious, and she was always willing to listen when I needed to talk. Her daughter Lily was like a breath of fresh air, full of energy and curiosity. She reminded me of the days when my own children were young, full of life and wonder. In Seabrook, I became known for my quiet nature and kind heart. People respected me not because of who I had been, but because of who I was now. Diana Wells wasn't a mother trying to reclaim her family or a woman fighting to be seen. She was just a person quietly living her life, giving back to the community in small ways. It was a life I had never thought possible, but now that I had it, it felt like everything I had been missing. And for the first time in years, I felt free. Free from the expectations of my past, free from the weight of betrayal. In Seabrook, I was just another face in the crowd, a face that was finally truly mine. I hadn't expected my family to search for me, but I hadn't expected them to let go so easily either. They were too busy with their lives, too self-absorbed to notice that I was gone. At least that's what I told myself, hoping it would make the reality easier to bear. But as the days passed, I started to realize that they had noticed. They had to. It didn't take long before the first sign came, a missing person report. Sophie, in her panic, filed it with the police once she realized I wasn't in the house when they came back from their vacation. She must have thought I was still in Charleston somewhere, possibly still in the hospital. The irony was not lost on me. The same daughter who hadn't bothered to check on me when I was lying unconscious in that ICU now believed me to be missing. I could feel the ripple effect, even from Seabrook. The local news picked it up quickly, and soon enough the entire town knew that Laura Whitaker had vanished. The police were involved, but all the while I had already erased every trace of my former self. My house was sold, the accounts were emptied, and there was no trace of me left in Charleston. I wasn't just missing, I had disappeared completely. The media caught wind of the story. At first it was a small blip, just another local story about a mother gone missing. But as the details emerged, the scandal exploded. News outlets began picking up the story, asking how Sophie and Daniel could have abandoned their mother in such a way. The fact that the house had been sold and my bank accounts drained added fuel to the fire. It wasn't just about a missing person anymore. It was about a family betrayal. A mother who had been discarded, erased, and replaced by convenience. The public ate it up. Sophie and Daniel's names were plastered across headlines. They became the subject of heated debates, the focus of judgment from people who didn't even know them. The public's outrage was palpable, and I could hear the whispers of people in Seabrook discussing the scandal like it was a movie plot. They were calling Sophie a monster, questioning how she could leave her mother to die alone in a hospital, only to return and clear out her life like it was nothing. And Daniel. He was just as complicit, enabling Sophie's plan, letting it unfold without a second thought. I couldn't help but feel a sense of satisfaction, though I didn't let it show. They deserved this. They deserved to feel the weight of what they had done. I had spent years taking care of them, putting their needs before my own, and they had repaid me by treating me like I was disposable. Now the world could see them for what they were. I wasn't a victim anymore. I had taken control of my life, and I was at peace with my decision. From Seabrook, I watched it all unfold. It was almost like watching a storm rage from a distance, knowing there was nothing I could do to stop it. Sophie and Daniel's attempts to repair their image were laughable. They tried to spin the narrative to justify their actions, but the public wasn't buying it. Not anymore. As the weeks passed, the outrage only grew. News stories about the disappearing mother went viral, and soon people were calling me a hero. A woman who had walked away from everything to start over to reclaim her life. They didn't know the full story. They didn't know about the pain, the heartache, or the betrayal. But it didn't matter. In Seabrook, I was finally free from their expectations, free from the judgments of a world that had never understood me. I smiled quietly to myself, watching the world through my small-town life. I didn't need anyone's approval anymore. I had everything I needed now. I was Diana Wells, and for the first time in a long time, I was truly living on my terms. It had been months since I left Charleston, since I walked away from everything I knew. I had built a new life in Seabrook, one that was quiet, peaceful, and entirely mine. But even in this small coastal town, I knew that the past was never far behind. And then one morning it arrived. Sophie, my daughter, she found me. After all this time, after all the efforts I made to disappear, she had tracked me down. I was sitting at a small cafe by the beach when I saw her walk through the door. There was no mistaking her, though she had changed a little since I last saw her. There was a weariness in her eyes now, a kind of guilt that I hadn't noticed before. But she still had that air of entitlement, that look of someone who believed they could fix everything just by showing up. She wasn't the same girl I had raised, but she was still my daughter. She spotted me almost immediately, and there was a brief moment of hesitation before she walked over to the table. I didn't stand up to greet her. I didn't move at all. Instead, I stayed seated watching as she came closer, trying to brace myself for whatever this was going to be. For all the peace I had found, there was still something inside me, some lingering feeling that wondered if this was going to be the moment I would finally get an apology, finally get some recognition for everything I had sacrificed. But deep down, I already knew the truth. I wasn't waiting for anything anymore. When she reached the table, Sophie took a deep breath and sat down. There was an awkward silence between us, one that felt heavier than anything I had ever experienced. Her voice was shaky when she spoke. "Mom," she started her words slow and unsure. I'm so sorry. I didn't realize how serious everything was. I didn't know it was. I didn't know it would get this far. I watched her closely as she spoke, waiting for the words to sink in. She sounded genuine, but I could hear the rehearsed tone behind it, like she had practiced this conversation 1,000 times in her head. It was the kind of apology you give when you realize the damage has been done, but it's too late to make amends. But I wasn't buying it. I looked her in the eye and shook my head slightly. "You didn't know," I repeated the words, tasting bitter on my tongue. "Sophie, I watched you make decisions for me, and I sat there helpless. You knew exactly what you were doing." Her face reddened and she quickly looked down, as if the weight of the truth had hit her all at once. I didn't feel satisfaction in seeing her discomfort. Instead, I just felt empty. Like the part of me that had hoped for something more, for a different kind of relationship, had already died long ago. "I'm sorry, Mom," she said again, but this time there was more desperation in her voice. "I thought I was helping you." I thought, no. I cut her off, holding up my hand. "You didn't. You didn't help me. And that's the problem. I didn't ask you to make decisions for me. I didn't ask you to take control of my life." Sophie's eyes filled with tears, but I didn't flinch. I had cried enough for the both of us. "I've already let go of you, Sophie. I said, my voice firm but calm. "I've let go of what I thought we had. I'm done trying to fix something that's already broken." The silence that followed was thick, suffocating. Sophie opened her mouth as if to say something, but the words never came. I knew what she wanted to say. She wanted to beg for forgiveness, to make it all better with a few words. But it was too late for that. I had already done the hard part. I had already let go of them. "I don't need or want to be a part of that family anymore," I continued. "You made your choices. Now I'm making mine." For a moment, Sophie sat there unmoving. Her face was a mix of sadness and regret. But she didn't argue. She didn't push. She just nodded slowly, as if she finally understood what I had been trying to say all along. I stood up then, not looking back. I didn't need to. The decision had been made. My past, my family, it was all behind me now. "I'll be fine, Sophie," I said quietly. "And so will you." And with that, I walked out of the cafe, leaving my past and the woman I used to be behind. As I sat by the small window of my cottage in Seabrook, watching the sun set over the water, a wave of peace washed over me. It was a peace I hadn't known in years, a peace I thought was lost forever. The frantic rush of my old life, the betrayal, the constant feeling of being unheard and unseen, it was all behind me now. For the first time in so long, I felt like I was truly breathing. I was free. Free from the constant emotional weight of my past, free from the toxic expectations that had suffocated me for so long. I had spent so many years living for others, my children, my family, trying to keep everyone happy, sacrificing my own peace in the process. But now, sitting here as Diana Wells, I realized that I had finally reclaimed my life. There was no one left to please, no one left to judge me. The woman who had spent decades of her life being defined by the roles of mother, wife, and daughter was gone, and in her place was someone new, a woman who had learned to stand on her own, to trust her instincts, and to choose her own path. I picked up a pen and started to write. The words flowed easily, like they had been waiting to be set free. I wrote a letter to myself, affirming everything I had already learned in the silence of these months. "You have moved on from your past," I wrote. "You are free from the people and the relationships that once held you captive. You are no longer defined by their expectations or their mistakes. You are your own person now, and that is enough." I folded the letter carefully, slipped it into the drawer where I kept the few things from my old life that I couldn't part with, and closed it. It felt like a final chapter had been written. And so, as I stood up and walked outside to meet Claire and Lily for a walk by the beach, I knew deep down that I was exactly where I needed to be. No longer Laura Whitaker, the mother who had been left behind, but Diana Wells, a woman who had learned how to live on her own terms. The future was uncertain, but for the first time I didn't need to know what it held. I was free, and that was enough. Life can be a delicate balance between living for others and living for yourself. For too long, Laura, or rather Diana, lived for her family. She sacrificed her happiness, her peace, and her sense of self in the name of love and duty. But in the end, what did she get in return? Betrayal. Discarded like an old, unnecessary object, her family showed her just how little they valued her sacrifices. And that was the breaking point. It's heartbreaking, but the truth is, many of us do the same. We pour ourselves into relationships, be it with family, friends, or partners, only to find that when we're no longer useful, we're cast aside. We define ourselves by what others think of us, hoping for validation, hoping to feel seen. But the reality is, no one will value you the way you value yourself. No one will love you the way you can learn to love yourself. What Laura's story, or rather Diana's, teaches us is simple yet profound: reclaiming your life, your peace. Your joy is not selfish. It's necessary. If we continue to live for others at the cost of our own well-being, we lose ourselves. Diana didn't just leave behind a house and a name. She left behind the shackles of self-doubt and self-sacrifice. She embraced the freedom of being her, not defined by anyone else's expectations. So I urge you as you reflect on your own life, are you living for yourself or are you merely existing for others? Sometimes the greatest act of love we can show ourselves is to walk away from those who don't appreciate us. Life is too short. Don't wait until it's too late. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Have you ever felt like Laura, Diana? Share your story in the comments below. Let's start a conversation about reclaiming our peace.